Hello, listener. Stir the Pot is a podcast about murder, crime, cryptids, and all things spooky. Naturally, there may be some content in these episodes that is uncomfortable to listen to. If you still think that this is the podcast for you, we'd love to have you join us. But if not, this is your official warning to turn back now.
How's it going?
It's going good.
What up?
Yeah, welcome to Stir the Pot.
I'm Velma.
And I'm Shaggy.
I almost forgot my name this time.
Yeah, look at that. I'm on top of it.
I'm not. It's been a long week this week.
Yes, but speaking of being on top of it...
What?
We have YouTube up now.
YouTube's going to be up now. It's actually going to have been up for like 2 episodes by now, but we officially figured it out as of today, like right before this recording. So we're doing great.
Yeah.
We're doing 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're on top of it. We're just like feeling the moments.
Yeah, we're getting it.
Yeah. I just noticed you have a hot dog on your...
Oh yeah, I think I got the sticker when I went to like a Pride event and they just had random food stickers.
For the record, it's not a rainbow hot dog or anything. No. It's just a hot dog.
Yeah, just a regular hot dog.
I know I gave you that one, the Bigfoot one.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Bigfoot.
I'm biased.
New York little dinosaur. He's falling apart though.
Oh yeah. Don't you hate when that happens?
I do, because then there's no good answer, and if you take it off, it's just sticky.
And then you have to put something on over it. But like, you like the sticker, that's why you put it on there. Right. So I get it. Stickers. I love stickers as an adult. As a child, I hated stickers because they made me anxious. Yeah. So I never wanted to use them.
Exactly. The point of the sticker book thing, like, that doesn't help because it
blows my mind. Why? Like, recently my sister gave one to my niece, and why the flip? Are you gonna just put a sticker of a dress from the front onto this person? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Nope. Not for me.
Nah, me neither. Yeah. But I do love a good sticker.
A good sticker, yeah.
Yeah, a good sticker is hard to find.
Yeah.
So any news you want to talk about today?
No. I'm not prepared.
It's okay. I barely am prepared. Wait,
I do have something.
Tell me.
This is old news, though.
Tell me old news.
About the bassist from Weezer, his wife. I don't know if you heard about that at all.
Kind of, but like, tell everybody. They might not have.
There was like a hit and run or whatever, and these guys were on a freeway in California, and the guys that were involved and did the crime were running. And one of them, like, stripped naked or something. It's like a wild story.
Weezer's wife?
No.
Okay.
She ain't even there yet.
Okay.
So then these guys are running through the neighborhood, and the cops are trying to, like, catch them. They went through a park. Some people were chasing them. And apparently the bassist's wife, right, came out of her house with a gun and pointed at the cops and was, like, threatening to shoot. And the cops shot her. And so she's being charged with, like, attempted murder.
To who?
To the cops. And she was, I think the recent statement was her saying, like, I thought it was one of the guys, not a cop, but because the cops were like, put the gun down, and she didn't, they, like, shot her in the shoulder or something. Wild story.
I feel like there was a lot of drugs involved in every party of this. The guy's running, maybe the police, definitely Weezer's wife. There was a lot of drugs. I heard that she was charged with attempted murder, and I don't know why. I just assumed it was, like, towards Mr. Weezer, which I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
I just assumed, but I guess no. She tried to take out a cop.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. I wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah. The Luigi play... Luigi update. The play should have happened. No?
Yeah. No, I think it's in June.
Oh.
Beginning of June. I'm very excited about it.
I want to hear the reviews immediately.
Me too. I'm so excited. But his birthday was the other day.
Uh-huh.
And for his birthday, he actually surpassed over $1 million in the funds for his legal team. In donations.
Oh,
so
happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday.
Luigi, if you're listening, happy birthday.
He turned 27, which... We were just talking about this. I'm not going to talk about the 27 Club right now. Not for this entire year. No talk of the 27 Club. If he... Another thing that we're going to talk about today, there's a new pope.
Oh, yeah.
Pope. This was a quick pope.
Pope the new.
Poop the new. The new pope. So there's a new pope. He's the first American pope. I'm talking about this. I went a little bit more in depth than I really intended to. But his name is Mark Prevost, and he's Pope Leo the 14th. I don't ever remember a Pope Leo, but popes live a long time.
I don't know anything about popes. I don't know the system. That's just me not knowing things.
Yeah. I was, because you kind of asked this earlier, and I know this, and so I just wrote down the details, but of how a pope gets elected. Mm-hmm. So how do you become a pope?
Yeah.
So there's cardinals, which a cardinal is like the next step down from a pope.
Yeah.
They're commonly referred to as princesses, but they're usually in red. Like if you ever see the Catholic men in red, that's a cardinal.
Gotcha.
Hence cardinal, red cardinal. Yeah. So as of right now, there's 252 cardinals. That's more than there's been in a long time. But basically all the cardinals get together and meet at the Vatican, and they all vote for who the next pope should be. And it could be anybody that is a cardinal. There's only one big rule. You cannot even vote if you are over the age of 80.
That's interesting.
I know. I was like, fascinating.
So it's just like the pool of cardinals. They're like, let's nominate one of these guys here. Okay.
And then they have to win by 2/3 of a vote. Mm-hmm. Every time they do a vote or like a ballot casting, they go to this little fireplace and either push up black smoke, which means they did not elect a pope, or white smoke, that means that there's a new pope.
Wasn't there just a movie about selecting a pope?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up now.
There was a TV show that nobody talks about called The New Pope, where what's his name, who's amazing and was in the Holiday across from Jude Law, played like a young pope, and it was fantastic. And it should have gone on, like, he was a cigarette smoking pope, and that's what I hope for us. And I think we might have a chance with this one. He's from Chicago.
Yeah, Conclave.
Oh, yeah, Conclave, yeah.
That just came out, and it's about picking a new pope and it's mystery and thriller. I
Interesting.
haven't seen it. I do want to.
Oh, maybe we'll have to review it.
Yeah.
But that's actually what they call, like, what they are doing.
Yeah.
It's called, but
Wild timing.
Yeah. No, I think the show was called The Young Pope. Sorry, but it was The Young Pope. And he was like a cigarette smoking.
You said that, I thought of Young Sheldon and just.
Imagine Young Sheldon as a pope. No,
it's got to be in my head.
No,
now.
Probably not. I hope that they overlap at some point.
Yeah.
They're both young. I would like to see them do that. But one thing I want to mention about the new pope is he was elected very quickly, and he forcibly has been pushing back against quote, quote, Trump's Christian power. So I think that's something just to note.
Yeah.
So, yay. Anyways, he was also in the top 5 shortest elections of popes. And there's been a lot of popes. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all I really have to talk about today for Luigi and the Pope. The poop, the pope, poop. I haven't said the Pope this much in a long time.
Yeah.
I wonder if he likes potpourri. On that note, I'm gonna
send an email.
Send an email. Be like, Mr. Pope Leo the 14th.
Yes.
Hello. It is nice to meet you. I support you. Do you like potpourri? May I send you some? I will send you some. It may contain weed. Thank you. Have a great day. He starts listening to the podcast.
He starts listening to the podcast, and he starts his own podcast called Stir the Pope.
Oh my god, that's fantastic. I like Stir the Pope.
Yeah.
Stir the Pope. I'm into Stir the Pope. Potpourri. Anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and do the reefer report real quick. Beep, beep, beep. So today I smoked Blue Runts. It's an indica dominant hybrid because everything's a hybrid nowadays. I'm just doing it from a regular Blazy Susan. And if you see us at the end of the episode, I will give you the reefer review. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Ooh.
Thank you.
That's it.
I know. I went deep there.
Yeah.
All right.
Would you rather?
Would I rather what?
All right. I think this one's fun.
Be a pope or none? I think pope. I think pope, but okay.
All right.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say pope.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the power.
Mm-hmm.
None of the fun.
Mm-hmm.
None. Yeah.
None. N-U-N.
To switch directions. Would you rather discover you have a cloned body double and it's living its own life in a neighboring town?
That means I could be a pope and a nun.
Why stop at one dream?
Yeah, why stop at one? Okay.
Or possess the power to time travel, but it's only within the confines of your own predetermined lifespan. So for as long as you're supposed to be living, that's when you can time travel.
I'd try time travel.
Yeah? You don't want the clone?
No.
I feel like a clone would be fun.
I feel like a clone would be very fun, but I would really like to go and change things.
Ooh, so you would, like, mess with the timeline?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of things I would change.
What's one thing that you would change? Like, first stop on the tour.
In my own timeline, first stop on the tour. First stop, I would make my parents have sex earlier so I could be, like, in my prime in the 80s. But, like, that's technically not my time span, so I guess that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Shit. God, I gotta think about this. I don't know. Now you put me on the spot.
Yeah.
But I know that I would.
Yeah, you got a lot that you want to get done.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Within my life or within, like, I mean, like, it's in my lifetime, but that doesn't mean that I can't go somewhere else and, like, mess with something else somewhere else.
Yeah, you can.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as it's within, like, if you're supposed to be alive from, like, 2000 to 2015, like, you can only time travel between those years.
I feel like there's so much that I could do. There's so much that could be done. Like, the opportunities are endless. The 90s?
But then you'd have to travel back.
Here?
Yeah.
It doesn't say travel back.
I mean, that's fair. You can just keep hopping and hopping.
Yeah, I just keep hopping and hopping. And then, like, I change whatever I need to change in the 90s and see what happens. And then if it doesn't work out the way I want it to work out, then I go back and change it again.
Yeah.
And then just keep going.
Very hot tub time machine.
Yeah. The other one, the clone. Have you ever seen that show Orphan? The Orphan?
No.
Oh, no. Orphan Black.
No.
It was a BBC show. Mm-hmm. And it was really good. But it was basically about this woman that was cloned. And she keeps meeting more of her clones.
Ooh.
And, like, as you get further on in the series, the one thing with the clones is they can't have kids. And somehow she was able to have a kid. And she's a clone. And so they're trying to capture her to figure out why you were able to have a kid.
Yeah.
And she's, like, on the run the whole time.
Interesting.
Oh, it's really good.
I feel like a clone could get real scary real fast.
Mm-hmm.
But also, how fun would that be to be like, no, that wasn't me.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Or go back in time and change it so it was somebody else, but it was your idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Now I thought it was going to be an easier option, and both of them.
I know. I think both of them are pretty good. No, personally, I think I don't know. I wouldn't want a clone around me.
Yeah, that's true. Because
What if I'm already a mess? What if they're the evil clone?
Yeah, and then what if they're like, no, it wasn't me, it was you. No, I don't want that pulled back on me.
Yeah, and clones have the same DNA and all that stuff, so they really couldn't.
Ooh.
I know.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
I know.
I'll time travel, I guess.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
Yeah, time travel. Yeah.
Yeah, because time travel is free.
Yeah, time travel is free.
Regular travel is not.
And I'm assuming that said time travel, like, because you're like, oh, I want to go to Europe in 1997, that's where I'd go. Mm-hmm. I don't just go to 1997 exactly where I'm at right now and then have to travel to Europe.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if there's the magic of time travel, there's also the magic of teleportation.
Yeah.
They are not...
It's one and the same.
It's one and the same. Yeah. Like, they're yin and yang. You can't separate the two of them. So, what are we talking about today? Yuba Part 2.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to Part 1 yet, go check that out. We give you the who's who in the story. You get to meet all the players and get the cliffhanger. And if you're coming back for Part 2, what happens next?
Yeah, what happens next? I'm going to do a quick sum up of what happened in Part 1.
Yeah.
Just for anybody that may have missed it or doesn't remember because it's been 2 weeks. There were 5 great kids called the Boys that were good around town. They decided they wanted to go to a basketball game. There's only 2 of them with a license. One of them that had a car that he was really proud of. They go to this basketball game that's about 50 miles out of town, about an hour, give or take. They go to the basketball game, and they don't come home. The day that they went missing, somebody spotted the car which I keep wanting to call a Monte Carlo, and that's not right. It is a Mercury Montego. Kind of close.
You said Monte Carlo, and I thought Monte Cristo, like the...
Can the count?
Yeah.
You said that, and I'm thinking of a Monte Cristo, like the sandwich. Whale.
None of those. It's a car.
None of those. It is a car. It's a Mercury Montego. And thank God I wrote that down. But I also wrote down, because one thing I realized I forgot to mention, they are in the Plumas National Forest. I forgot to mention where this is at.
Yeah.
But they found the car, no damages. Technically, the police found it 2 days after they went missing. So they went missing on the 24th. They found it on the 24th, 25th. They found it on the 27th. So that's where we're at. Car had about a quarter of a tank of gas, no issues. They were able to start it right away. It was unlocked and one of the windows was down, which Doc Madruga, the driver, as the family pretty much worded, he would never with that car.
Yeah. Remind me of their names one more time.
Yeah. So there is Doc Madruga. He was the driver. Mm-hmm. There is Gary Mathias. Mm-hmm. He's the ex-military. He's the one that had escaped.
Yep.
There's Ted and Jack. Those were like the two original besties of the group. Mm-hmm. Ted is one of the older ones. And then Bill Sterling.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those are the 5 guys. After the car was found, a couple snowcats went up further into the mountains, but also got lost themselves on the way back. So they were able to make it back, but they were having a hard time. So they kind of had to give up the search pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because there was a snow, they're missing. They didn't even know that that's where they should have been searching because it was in the opposite direction of where they were going.
And it was like 70 miles out when it was only 50 homes. So
right. So like, and it was kind of like a V, you know, so... and we'll post a map. Let me make a note of that. So that way you guys can see kind of where everything's at. After local coverage started and media took off with this case, several reports and sightings came in from actually all over the country of these guys. There were actually 2 of them that stood out. One of them, I don't know. But the first one really stands out. There was this gentleman named Joseph Schons. Schons? Schons?
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
He was from Sacramento, which wasn't too far away. He accidentally stayed the night in his car on the same road where the boys went missing. And I put accidentally in quotes, but like, it's kind of this is a very weird situation.
Okay.
And because it's such a weird, bizarre situation, I believe it.
Okay.
Because I don't think somebody can make this up. One of those things.
That makes sense.
So he owned a cabin up in the forest. Mm-hmm. And him and his family were going to go up there for a ski trip coming up the next weekend.
Okay.
So this was, the 24th was a Saturday. The weekend after, him and his family, his wife and kids were going to go up there, go skiing, whatever. So he wanted to go up there the weekend before just to make sure...
everything's set.
Yeah. Waters were running, the doors locked, things are good, we're ready to go.
It's good for people to be living in.
Right. There's not a bear living in the closet, you know, even though a bear would never. He actually got his car stuck in the snow much further down than they found the Montego. Mm-hmm. So much further, like closer.
Gotcha.
Or lower, I guess, because there's a mountain lower, whatever. And at about 5:30, he got stuck and tried to start pushing him out and realized that he started having weird feelings that felt like a heart attack.
Ooh.
And so...
that's not good.
Right. So when he was trying to free himself, all of that was happening. He was getting symptoms like the left arm, his whole chest was hurting. He felt terrible. He went into the car and turned on the heat. At this time, this is long ago, there's no cells, there's no car phones, there's nothing like that. And he's in the middle of nowhere in the forest when it's snow outside.
Yeah.
So 6 hours later... I like time-stamped all this for some reason, like super accurately. So that would be like at 11:30 p.m. Remember, the last sighting of the boys was at 10 p.m. at the gas station.
Right, when they were getting their snacks and post-game treats to head home.
Right. Yeah. You know, the celebratory, you know, and annoying the guy because he wanted to go home. Yeah. Right. So 11:30, he heard headlights, but
he saw.
Thank you. I wrote saw. I didn't write heard. He saw headlights from behind him, and they actually parked behind him so he could see the lights in his, like, rearview mirror.
Okay. So, like, within a range enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough. He was able to stick his head out the window and scream for help. He was in a lot of overwhelming pain because he's
freaking out about having a heart attack.
Right, he's still experiencing the symptoms. It's been 6 hours. He can't really do much, but he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But as he, like, leaned out of his car to ask for help, there was a group of people that he saw. Okay. So several people. Okay. One of which that he was able to point out and distinguish was a woman with a baby. Okay. Why? I have no idea. But as soon as he asked for help, they got dead quiet and stopped talking. Before that, they were kind of...
chit-chatting.
Yeah, muttering a bunch, Jesus Christ, amongst themselves. And they just got dead quiet. Later that night, after those lights went out, he actually saw flashlights far in the distance the opposite way, which is where the Montego would have been. He once again called for help, and when he did, all the flashlights were turned off. Okay. So this was the night of the 24th to the 25th when they would have went missing. Right. The next morning, his car ran out of gas, so he had to do something. Yeah. So he actually walked 8 miles back down that road, on that same road, down the mountain to get help. And there was a lodge at the very bottom. Okay. And the manager actually drove him home. I'm sorry, the manager of the lodge actually drove him to his car so he could drive home. And on the way, they passed the Montego. Okay. The way they had to do it. So they saw the Montego on the 25th. Gotcha. The doctors did confirm that he had had a heart attack. Ooh. So this is, like, confirmation. Yeah. Very weird, but, like, he was there. Right. All the signs point. Like I said, one of those stories that's too weird to be made up. Yeah. You know. The next one, I literally wrote, meh. So, in the opposite direction... on that same road, there was a store about 30 miles in the opposite direction. Gosh, so we have the lodge in the sky, and then their car, and then stores here? Yeah. Okay. Yep. Good map. I like that. So 30 miles in the opposite direction. The worker at the store said she saw 4 of the boys. And she recognized them because she said that they were very smiley and they had really good, like, big attitudes. Sweet. They were very sweet. And this would have been on the 25th, the day after. So where's the 5th one? So, she recognized... Where's the 5th one? We'll get there. Okay. So it's confirmed 3 of the boys that she saw. Okay. But there were flyers that were put out that had pictures of them, and there was a $1,215 reward. $1,215, and in today's money that would be over $6,000. So, but the store owner also, oh my god, I'm having the hardest time with, like, stupid words today. The store owner also corroborated the story. So anyways, 2 of the men that she identified as Jack and Bill were trying to use the phone booth outside. Okay. However, later, Jack and Ted were identified coming into the store to get burritos, soda, and chocolate milk. They were in a red pickup truck instead of the Montego. So that's also, important. I know you can hear my papers turning. In all realistic expectations, the police had no reason not to believe them because it seemed pretty credible. Yeah. The family were not so sure. The first question is, why would they be in a different car? Yes, that's also my question. Right. Also, Jack, who was in the phone booth, he hated to use the phone. Like, absolutely hated. So it was like desperate emergency moment. Right. And so if it was him and Bill in there to use the phone, Jack and Ted were besties. So Ted was kind of his rock. So it wouldn't have been Jack and Bill. But then later, Jack and Ted did go into the store together. But those were the only 3 that they identified. So was it Doc missing or was it Gary missing? Or did this even happen? Yeah. Who knows? But the one thing the family said is the food was 100% spot on. That Ted would pretty much eat anything. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, on June 4th, this is 3.5 months after the game and when they went missing, the snow started to melt. A group of motorcyclists were going up into the mountains and they saw a trailer that was supposed to be maintained by the United States Forest Service. Okay. And this was 19.4 miles from where the Montego was found.
Going in the direction towards the store?
Whole different direction.
Whole different direction. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the store and the other cars are like north-south.
Yep.
They're like on east or west.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So totally different direction.
Okay.
The front window of the trailer was bashed in, and when they opened the door, they found... I know we have a trigger warning at the beginning of this, but things are about to get pretty dark. So anybody that doesn't want to hear some sick and twisted stuff, this is your chance to fast forward. And if you need to, we'll see you at the next episode.
Yeah.
But either way.
Yeah.
So when they finally came in, they were hit with a very strong smell, and they saw a decaying body laying on the bed. It was later identified as Ted's, but something wasn't right about this scene that they found.
It's so sad.
It's very sad. And it gets weirder and sadder.
I have so many questions, but I don't even know where to start.
Right. And that's kind of what the police kept saying is like, we keep getting answers, but it's not leading to less questions.
Right. It's just leading to more questions. It's not putting us anywhere.
Closer.
It's not helping us figure out where they are. Like, why were they in a different car? Who was this? The people with the flashlights?
Right.
Like,
who was the woman with the baby?
Right. Did they have anything to do with this?
Were they real even? Because eyewitnesses...
He's having a heart attack. Like, he could be, not to say...
He could be seeing Jesus. You have no idea.
Right.
Like, it could be the Virgin Mary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like...
Right.
You have no idea.
Right.
And that's why, like, eyewitness testimony is so hit or miss.
Right.
But anyways, even this is weird. So anyways, so they go in there. Ted's body is wrapped in sheets. Even his head is wrapped in sheets.
Okay.
The only thing that's not is his feet. And his feet were so badly damaged with gangrene and frostbite that he wouldn't have been able to walk. Like, it would have been too painful.
Okay.
His shoes, however, were missing, and his feet were sticking out.
Interesting.
His cause of death was hypothermia and starvation, which we're going to come back to those in a moment. Mm-hmm. Due to the length of his beard and his body, coroners believed that he may have lived up to 13 weeks after going missing. So that means he could have lived up till May 26th. He was found June 4th. That's so close. Like, right there. But back to the cause of death. Hypothermia, we're going to start there. This trailer not only had a ton of matches, like, laying around everywhere, books for, like, burning and to be able to, like, make a fire, a butane tank to keep the whole trailer warm, and additional clothes and blankets for people to use in the event of emergency.
So there were a lot of resources there.
Right. It was literally like, hey, if you get lost in the wood, there's a forest trailer here that if you need anything, this is what it's for.
Yeah. And the whole, like, wrapped in blankets, especially the head, like, I mean, to a certain degree, I could be like, yeah, maybe he was cold and, like, got himself all tangled in there. But also, it's such a...
It seems, like, almost mummified to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I kind of pictured it as.
Yeah.
There were also 12 empty, like, army ration food containers on the ground.
Okay.
But there was also a whole pantry with enough dry food to keep all 5 of them alive for at least a year. That was untouched.
Interesting.
Very bizarre. Also, evidence shows that he was not alone in the trailer. First question, how did he get the sheets over his head? Second, his feet were frostbit and so badly damaged that he was not able to walk.
Right.
So how was he even able to do anything for himself?
Right. How did he get in the trailer? How did he eat?
Get the food? Right. On a bedside table, he always wore a little nickel ring that had his name on it, a gold necklace, and a gold watch without a crystal that was not his was on this bedside table, and a partially melted candle.
Okay.
So they were able to make fire with, like, at least a partially melted candle.
Knew that something they had right. Why didn't they keep doing that?
Right. Why was that not right? Gary's sneakers were also found in the trailer. So that was also suggesting that he wasn't alone in there.
Right.
Also, all of the rations were opened with a P38 can opener. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. Most people would not know what that is. It is a military-grade, exclusively issued can opener for people that are in the military.
And Gary was in the military.
So he would know how to
use that.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding. So the only other one that would have known how to do that is Doc was also in the military as a driver, but there just seems to be more evidence that it was
Gary was there.
It was Gary. Police started searching the area between where the Montego was found and where the trailer was, 19.4 miles away, and like what that stretch would be. This started going real quick right after the first body was found.
Yeah.
The next day, June 5th, they did discover the scattered remains of Doc and Bill.
Scattered.
So 11.4 miles away from the Montego, headed in the direction of the trailer.
Okay.
They were also on opposite sides of like a little road or walk path. The cause of death was concluded as hypothermia, and the reason it was scattered is mainly because of animals
and life happening around them.
Yes.
I'd like it. What? How like decomposed was it?
Bad. They were very decomposed, and it was mainly just bones. I think there was more. There was more of one of them. I believe it was Bill, and the other one was just mainly skeleton remains. Skeletal.
Yeah.
It's believed with them, one of the two friends. So in late stages of hypothermia, you get very tired and you want to take a nap. Mm-hmm. Like you're ready to fall asleep, and that's it. That's it kicking in. And it's believed that one of the two friends sat for arrest, and the other friend wanted to stay with him, and both of them just didn't make it from there.
Yeah.
But it was believed that it was on the way to the trailer.
So they were like all walking together, and they were like, "Hang on, guys! Like I'm gonna sit here."
Right. So
how long does the hypothermia take to hypothermia?
I don't think that long if it's cold enough.
Yeah. But
the problem is that I didn't really see a whole lot of temperatures. I know it was cold.
Right, because it was snowing and everything, right?
And like hypothermia.
And mountains and everything.
I'm gonna Google that. Hold on. How long does it take to die of hypothermia?
Because like in my timeline that I've made of this, they had the car, they stopped, they went to the gas station or whatever somehow, whether that was walking or whatever, and then maybe they were like, oh hey, there's this lodge, and they got confused or whatever and went the wrong way. I don't know. Yeah. But if that's what's happening, like, and they're walking, 20 miles is a long mile. It's a long time. So is 11. Mm-hmm. But like, I feel like that's really fast for hypothermia to set in. But also I don't know how long that takes.
It can start within 10 minutes and occur within an hour.
Oh, okay.
And that's at negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it wasn't that cold.
Yeah.
But
real fast. So faster than I was giving it credit for.
Yeah, so pretty fast.
And like, I know you can get frostbite on your toes and your feet if you're like shoveling and doing that in the winter, but
I'm with you. The more you talk about it, I kind of wrote off that second eyewitness account pretty quick. As soon as I was reading it, I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. But you keep talking about it and you're like, well, how did they make it down there? And I'm just like, well, they didn't. Maybe they did. Maybe they did.
Yeah. Or maybe the people that work at that place were helping the people that were the Virgin Mary in the car.
Oh, yeah.
And they were, like, covering for them. I don't know. Anything can happen. What's next?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it still gets weirder. I promise. 2 days after that, so literally, okay. Ted was found on the 4th. Mm-hmm. Bill and Doc were found on the 5th. And 2 days after that, the 7th, it's all sad. This one's a little extra sad. Jack's dad was in one of the search parties looking for his son because it was still Jack and Gary missing. And he actually saw his son's jacket underneath a bush and picked it up. And from everything I said, he heard a rattle and the spine fell out. And it was the dad that found it.
That's gotta be so hard to go through.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, like in the first place, like...
And he described it as the rattle of the spine falling out. And to me, like, that just, like...
That gave me chills.
I know, like, the rattle, like...
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like, and that... I mean, I don't like that, but, like, I feel bad. Like, that's awful. Yeah,
like, losing your kid is hard enough, let alone, like, finding their body
remains.
And having that experience. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure the excitement of being like, oh my god, there's his jacket. Mm-hmm. And like there's no like any obvious signs that he's there, so maybe like we're on the right path, and then immediately just
yeah, like just that immediate excitement to heartbreak.
Yeah.
It's just anyways, the only thing missing in that area was his head, which was found about 300 feet away. They believe it was another animal's.
And stuff.
That's one thing about nature is when nature gets a hold of stuff,
Yeah.
it can ruin all evidence.
Right. Yeah, because you don't know if it was nature or somebody else. So his head was like, he was decomposed enough that his spine rattled out, but like his head was just like.
Yeah. Well, usually when there's no muscle or tissue to hold your bones together, like your bones are together.
Yeah.
But like it's pretty easy if there's nothing else to just take a bone and go boop. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
but there wasn't any like severed head or anything. No. It was just like his head just.
Right. The hyoid bone was still intact. I don't know if you know that. So that was.
Okay.
So he wasn't.
Gotcha.
You know.
Okay.
To try and not make it graphic.
Yeah.
Anyways, but he was about 2 miles away from the trailer. So
okay, so we're getting closer to the trailer.
Right. So he's closer to the trailer than the other ones. So the first ones were like 11 miles away from the Montego.
So they had hypothermia. They stopped. They ended there. The other guy was with them, and then you said
it was Jack.
Yeah. Who was the guy with hypothermia on his feet?
Ted.
Ted had somebody else helping him to get that extra mile into bed. Okay.
However, it is also believed that Jack was at the trailer with them and left to go back to try and get Bill.
Gotcha. So he's like, let me go find our friends.
Right. So that, we're not really sure, but that's where he was found. It was about 2 miles away. There was one other thing found about a quarter mile away from the trailer in the,
Past the trailer?
Yes.
Okay.
So, if you keep going this way, they found 3 Forest Service blankets, so, the thick blankets, and a rusty flashlight.
Okay.
They can't say how long exactly that had been there.
Sure.
Could have been there longer, but they assumed that it was Gary's. And they also assumed that if Ted was having hypothermia and frostbite and gangrene, that's the word, on his feet, that causes your feet to swell. Ted was a little bit bigger than Gary. So it is assumed that Gary took Ted's shoes so that because his feet were also swelling, so that way he could at least have shoes to walk further. And Gary had been known to walk hundreds of miles. Remember we talked about that with him escaping. But one other thing is Gary was very dependent on his medications. That was something that was very important in his life.
And wasn't the other time that he walked, he was unmedicated and he walked and was eating cat food and everything.
Cat food and water, and he walked for 500 miles over 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was before he was medicated.
Right.
So after this, that was all that was found. There was nothing found of any of of Gary or anything.
So we never found Gary.
Never found Gary.
Never found any of his remains, nothing.
Gary's still out there. So I wrote this last one. This is questions/theories.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
How far did they search past the trailer, right? Because you said a quarter of a mile or something.
They said they did about a 10 square mile radius around the trailer.
Okay.
And then did the straight path to the Montego.
Gotcha.
That area I do know is wilderness, not diet wilderness.
Right.
So sometimes when that's the case, one, things can be buried under something real quick.
Right.
And two, it gets dangerous because you can get lost in
super fast.
Yeah. Getting lost in forests is really quick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go over some of the basic questions that I ask first.
Okay.
Yeah. Or anybody else would.
Right.
Why the fuck were they there?
Yeah.
First question, why are they 70 miles in the wrong direction?
Right. Because even if they were 70 miles in the wrong direction, right, and you're going that way, you know that you're too far.
Right.
There was nothing wrong with the car.
Right, you're going up a dirt road.
Turn back at any point. They had a map.
Right.
So if they got lost, they could have been you know what, this is not it. Let's just turn around, go back the way we came, go back to the gas station we were at, see if we can get directions there.
Right.
Something.
It doesn't make one of the other questions is why didn't they go back down the road, the same road to the lodge that Joseph from earlier with the heart attack went to?
Right. Yeah, because if that was on the way up, they should have been able to see that, and
it would have been closer than the 19.4 mile hike to the trailer.
Right.
So.
And also, that's the whole thing, because there was nothing wrong with the car.
No.
So if there was something wrong with the car, I would easily be oh yeah, the rest of this makes sense.
Yeah.
But there was nothing wrong with the car.
Right.
So why did they stop?
There was nothing wrong with that. That's all of your questions. Question number 2 was, why did they leave the car? Like, if they would have even just stayed in the car till the morning, then they could have figured things out.
Yeah, because it's dark. If it's like wilderness and like dirt roads or whatever, like I don't know what the deal is there. Like, yeah, it's a lot. I know back roads like in our area is already a lot.
Yeah, here they're scary, and these aren't dirt roads. These are like rock roads,
right.
Like in roadie roads. So like, and they can get scary at night.
Yeah.
But one of the few weird answers that I can kind of find for this is Gary. There's a lot that goes on the scary guy. Gary supposedly had friends in a town that was close. That was called Forbestown.
Okay.
And there was a possibility, or people believe that maybe they attempted to go visit them, like as like a last minute, like, hey, let's go visit these buddies.
Gotcha.
On the way home, and just took a wrong turn and didn't make it.
Okay.
One problem with that is they did talk to the friends that Gary had, and they hadn't talked to him in years.
Okay.
So
that falls apart real fast.
I mean, it could have been a surprise visit, but really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, because, I mean, they were 50 miles isn't the longest thing. Like,
right.
So they would have been able to see each other more than, like, years apart.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Who knows? Yeah.
It is what it is. So now I'm going to go to theories. Theory number 1. This is kind of the most believed theory, or I guess the most, if you Google this case, this is the theory that's going to come up.
Okay.
I wouldn't say the most believed theory, because it's not.
It's the most known one.
Most known theory.
Gotcha.
There was a snowcat that recently was leaving tracks around the area that the car was found. And the police believe that they tried to follow the tracks instead of following the road to get to civilization.
Gotcha.
And that, I get it. That makes sense in my brain.
Because it was snowing, right?
Yeah, so
the road could have been covered.
And if you're seeing deep tracks from like a snowcat,
you could think that's a car.
You could think that's either a car, or, hey, this thing is going in that direction. There's got to be somebody that way.
Somebody went there.
Yeah, there was somebody in a vehicle that direction.
Right.
During the walk, Bill, Doc, this is still the theory, Bill, Doc, and Jack did die due to the elements, and Gary and Ted made it to the trailer. At the trailer, after Ted died, it's believed that Gary tried to walk to civilization due to the fact that he had done all that kind of stuff before.
Right. And
he's just never been found. That he perished in the elements. I don't know if that's what I believe.
Okay.
However, theory number 2 is, as I mentioned before, Gary did not have his medication. And he was a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. With a diagnosis like that, under stress and pressure, things can happen. It makes the symptoms worse.
Right.
You're under starvation, elements. He had been known to hallucinate. So he may have intentionally or not intentionally led the men astray.
Well, you said that, and I was like, I don't know how ignorant this is going to sound.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know enough about schizophrenia or the experience, but, like, if they were stressed out about, like, going the wrong direction and not following maps, and, like, they had this thing that they were going to do tomorrow for this competition, and, like, really trying to get home and figure that out, and everybody's freaking out, like, what if he hallucinated something and saw, like, somebody or like they stopped to help because they were super sweet guys, and like that's kind of when they started going down that path, because he was like, no, we gotta help this person, or like, no, that's the way, and like that just got out of hand.
Right. And on top of that, you have other people that have not exactly the same, but other issues that are also stressing out and having problems. Right. That's not going to help you either.
No.
So
everyone's like overstimulated, out of capacity. Like,
right. Which I would be too.
Yeah.
Like if I was out there, you wouldn't want to be around me. I'd be a fucking bitch. But like they would probably kill me and eat me first, because I'm also a little thick. And that's fine. Fair enough. But one thing I did want to mention with that too, earlier I did talk about how Gary had some issues with the law. I didn't want to bring this up earlier because I didn't want to skew any judgment before we got to the end.
Right. Yeah, you don't want everybody looking at it under one lens and ignoring the rest of it.
Because, to be honest, I also don't believe this is what happened.
Okay.
One of his family members accused him of sexually assaulting his wife. This was before all of these cases are before he was medicated.
Okay.
So just to point that out, not that
that's condoning anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Another one of his friends told police that one night he was at a bar and he showed up to the friend's house completely drunk. And threatened to kill the friend's 3-year-old child. Before he started getting his life together and before he was working and living with his parents, he also used heavy drugs such as meth and benzos. I looked up benzos. I feel like that's a word that's not used as much anymore, but that's basically anti-anxiety, like,
Yeah.
bars, I think is what they call them now.
Yeah.
He also had told several people before that he had this very common reoccurring dream where him and a group of people went missing. Theory number 3.
that's a freaky part of it. Because then it's like, okay, one, was this guy just like having a premonition and like that's actually something that happened?
Right.
Because sometimes you get weird feelings like that and you're like, this might be something that happens to me, and like weird deja vu. Like, I can understand that part of it.
Right.
But also, like, did he just make that dream come true?
Yeah.
Not like in a dream come true way, but like make it a reality.
But also, one thing that like I didn't really think about until like after a while was think of actually having a dream where you and a group of people go missing. What does that dream look like? How do you know that you're missing? Are you watching it from a third eye view? Are you in survival mode?
That's true.
Like, I feel like that could have gone so many ways. And like, because like if I'm missing in a dream, I don't know if I'm missing in real life, I don't know if I'm missing. I might be lost. But I don't know if, like, people think that I'm missing.
Well, I guess I would interpret that as, like, you've been, like, lost in the woods for, like, a week.
Yeah.
And you have no way to contact anybody, and, like, no one knows where you are. Especially in that time where there's no cell phones and everything like that. Like, not
that makes
just,
more
like,
sense.
someone just dipped and went off the grid. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
That
like,
makes more sense.
That's kind of how I envision that.
I was envisioning it more of, like, because I dream in, like, third party, so I, like, am watching myself in dreams.
Right.
And so I was kind of interpreting it that way.
Gotcha.
Which, either way,
like, it could still play out the same way.
Yeah.
Of, like, seeing yourself, like, gone for weeks and, like, depending on how intense your dreams get, like, seeing the perspective of people being like, where the fuck are they?
Yeah. Well, and then, like, you can also, the people that you're with, that is you and a group of people that went missing.
Right.
So.
Like, how you would handle that. Like, almost like a movie you're watching with yourself in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So creepy. Anyways, so theory number 3. So, not that I'm biased. I might be biased. I don't know. I feel like theory 2 and theory 3 can kind of be a little bit combined.
Okay.
But let me get through theory number 3. So I'm going to start with Jack's family. This is what pretty much all of the families believe.
Okay.
But starting with Jack's family, they told reporters that... Okay, let me take one more back step. This was from, I think, the 70s. I am reading the quote per quote, so that way I don't mess the words up. They don't talk right. Their English is not correct. And I'm so sorry for laughing, but I'm going to try and say this out loud, and I'm going to stumble all over it. So anyways, Jack's family told reporters that there was some force that made them go up there. They wouldn't have just fled off into the woods like a bunch of quails. We all know good and well that someone made them do it. Ted's sister-in-law, Ted was the one that was in the trailer, agreed, and added, they seen something at that game or in that parking lot. They may have seen it and not even realize they seen it, but they seen it. To me, interpretation, because there's a lot of scenes in there. I think what the sister-in-law was trying to say, I know you probably understand this, but I need to explain this for myself, is that maybe they saw somebody getting robbed or murdered. Maybe they saw somebody getting assaulted. Maybe they saw something they shouldn't have seen, and somebody saw them see it, and that got them in trouble.
Yeah, and they were, like, fleeing.
Yeah.
But then that part, like, something wasn't right. And I agree with what Jack's family said about how, like, some force, whatever it may be, no one's gonna know.
Right.
But something made them go that way.
Right.
Whatever it is. But, like, the sister saying that, like, they saw something that they shouldn't have, but, like, they stopped at the gas station afterwards.
Right.
So, like, they weren't scared for their lives at that point.
Right. I don't think it was at the gas station, and I don't think it was at the game. I think what you said earlier of them seeing somebody that maybe needed help, it was very common, and it is even very common today, where kids run out on the road, and then you follow the kid, and then you get sex trafficked or murdered or something. There was a woman with a baby. Like,
And that whole thing of them, like, not being quiet as soon as the guy's yelling for help, and then turning their flashlights off. The first part where they're, like, being quiet, I'm like, I could see if they were like, wait, where is the sound coming from? Like, let's all shut up for a second.
Right.
But turning the flashlights off, like, those are people that don't want to be noticed and don't want to be seen.
Right.
And not to give into his story totally, because, like, we don't know if that was even true. But, like, that and the bit where they're, like, they were in this other car, like, that makes it seem like they were trying to help somebody somehow, and those people didn't have good intentions.
Right. Well, and all of the family agreed that when they were told about the guy with the heart attack asking for help, that none of the 5 boys would have let him suffer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All of them would have gone to help.
No, I don't think that was any of them. So then it's kind of the, like, the people, like, did something, and then maybe they ran into the forest to get away from those people, because they're like, well, we can't go back to the car. They know where our car's at. Like, I can see that happening.
And it's so funny, because you have been one step ahead of me this whole time, because you're, wait till I...
Okay.
So, Gary, the one that's still missing, his stepdad also agreed with the family.
Okay.
Which... Gary's family from the very beginning was always a little bit more standoffish than the rest, because they almost kind of immediately were like, well, they're dead. Like, what can we do? Like, they're gone. There's no way we're going to find them.
Okay.
However...
Because everybody processes things differently.
Right. So I'm not judging. It is what it is. But Gary's stepdad also agreed and said that he knew those boys inside and out. And the only reason... Hold on, gotta flip my page. The only reason they did not make a fire is because they were afraid to be found. What were they running from? And I thought that was just a very interesting way for, like, the stepdad to be like, there was a reason, because they knew how to light a fire, clearly.
Right. They had the candle and everything.
They had the matches, they had the candle, they had a butane tank. So, like, they knew what to do, and they just didn't do it. And the way I'm going to close this case, because that's pretty much the end of this case, there's been no updates really, is the sheriff at the time, named Jack Beckman, which I think is really funny because there's been like 3 Jacks in the story. The only way he described this case when he's asked about it is bizarre as hell. Just that. He's like, it's bizarre as hell. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Because then, like, if that is the thing, if they didn't want to be found, they didn't want to be found, and so they were afraid to light the fire and everything, like, that can make sense for Ted's head being covered in 2 ways of, like, Gary was like...
I didn't even think about that.
Gary was like, I gotta hide him, so if they peek in the window, like, they don't know who it is, or, like, if he wasn't scared at that point and was like, I'm gonna, like, do something to, like, cover my friend and, like, honor him almost before I head out. Right.
And that's kind of another thing either way. And, like, another thing with Jack's head not being attached to his body, or the remains of the bodies being, you know, there were a lot of animals out there, but was that the case? Was that the reasoning?
Right, and you don't know if the 2 people that, like, stopped and waited, like, or maybe got caught by somebody, like, you don't know if they were stabbed or anything, because the rest of their body's gone, so, like, you can't figure this out.
Right. With a lot of these, causes of death, it almost has to be assumption. The only one that they really could get is Ted's, because he was the only one that was found a little bit more intact.
Yeah.
Because, like, and also remember, he could have lived up until, like, a week before he was found. The rest of them were bones. So that's, just to think of that is just wild.
Yeah.
And that this was going on for 3.5 months. I don't know, but some people believe that Gary's still alive and he just fled.
I mean, he could have, but in my head, like, the way I'm envisioning that doesn't make sense. And, like, either he was with Ted the entire time, or he was like, no, I'm gonna go see if I can get help. You stay here because you can't walk. And he couldn't walk to get himself food, or didn't want to hurt himself to, like, get up and do any of that. Like...
Yeah. And I agree with you. I don't think, especially being in the forest like that, not 20 miles up into this wilderness, plus, you know, you're in trouble. Like, that's
impressive that they found the trailer at all.
Yeah, it's impressive they found anything. Right. Yeah. And the only reason they found everything else is because they literally just followed which way it would have gone with them on Montego to the trailer.
Yeah.
But it's just so yeah, that's the story of the Yuba County Five.
I want answers.
Yeah, and there's just none to be had. Isn't that crazy though? Like, it's just, they call it the American Dyatlov Pass, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I see the connection, but I feel like I don't want to say too much, but I don't think these guys were killed by the government. So, I mean, they could have been, but yeah.
It's just so sad.
Like, maybe the woman was on the side of the road with her baby, and like they had a car breakdown, or they had a fake car breakdown, and they pulled over. They're like, "Hey, do you need a ride? Do you need help? We can help you." And she's like, "Yeah, I need help." And then,
because there had to have been something not only for them to like go out into the forest, right? But also something that, like, if they were making a phone call, like if that was out of character, there had to have been something serious that they're like, I have to make this phone call. And who were they trying to call?
Not Ghostbusters. And like the other, even something as basic as like the Montego being left with the doors unlocked and the windows open. So even if they didn't meet anybody, even if the gas station didn't happen, even if the heart attack guy didn't happen, why is there a Montego with a window open when it's snowing outside in the freezing cold and unlocked when that was that guy's baby?
Yeah.
Like,
did they get any like phone records from the phone booth? Because like I wouldn't I don't know if that would have helped.
Right. But like two people corroborated.
Yeah.
I want to say collaborated, and that's not right.
Yeah.
Corroborated the story. So I think that's just, I don't know.
That's so sad.
But
and it's also really sad for the families who are never going to like know for sure what happened.
Yeah. But I do think it's very interesting that there's the story that like is, if you Google it, is the story, and the families have a very strong belief on a different direction.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're like, there's no way that they just decided, I'm gonna go up on this mountain and go for a hike.
Yeah.
Like, but I feel bad for the families. This is really tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you just have I think the lack of closure is really hard.
Right, yeah, because you don't know, and you're never going to know, and, like, having to deal with that. Because then also, like, I know I go over 15 situations for something so stupid myself.
Yeah.
Like, this serious, like, I would drive myself insane.
Yeah, yeah. And, like, one of the moms I know said something along the lines of, every time your son goes to a basketball game, do you remember to hug him goodbye? And it's just, like, that's so sad to think about. Like, you're right. Like, it's just a simple basketball game.
Yeah. Did these families, like, any of them have siblings, or were they, like, only children?
A couple of them had siblings, but not all of them. I don't have a lot of information on the siblings.
Which is also even, like, hard as a sibling and then as a parent to, like, continue. Right. Yeah.
Well, and, like, Ted and Jack were, like, best friends, so they were, like, always at each other's houses. Yeah. So, like, they all 5 of them were the boys in town.
Right,
Like, imagine, like, 5 guys that, like, it's not the same world anymore, so, like, it's different, but, like, 5 people that you know very well just up and going missing at the same time. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a tragedy in so many ways for so many people.
Yeah. And
everyone's going to have their own theory.
Yeah. And I think at this point, as much as I think that science is advancing and DNA and stuff is advancing and what have you, I just don't think that there's much to get from this.
No.
Unless they find Gary, and even then, I really feel like there's going to be more questions that just open than answers.
It's going to be more questions, and then it's like the whole thing of police mishandling stuff and like fucking stuff up that way.
As much as I feel like this is 2 cases in a row, or no, because it was the last episode that I talked about this, so never mind. It was 1 case, but I feel like the police actually did their job.
They did their job here, but like you don't know like further like if they mishandle information,
right.
And then with nature doing that whole thing,
right?
Like, yeah.
Well, even like something. I mean, granted, this was the 70s. We're now about 50 years later. Them being like, well, like at the gas station where they saw the red truck, and then they're, well, it seems credible. Yep, you would think that's right. Yep, all right. That sounds pretty good to me. You know, and it's just like. There was 30 miles in the opposite direction in a different colored truck, and she only identified 3 of the 5.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't go there, but
Or if they only identified 3 of the 5 and it was the other 2 that were like sitting to rest with doing hypothermia, if the 3 went like later in the woods to go find those 2.
It wasn't, but yes.
Yeah.
And they said they saw 4 people, but it could have been like a different person.
Right. Yeah.
Could have been the woman.
So the truck.
Yeah. So it could. There's so many things that could have happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is a case that they'll get closure on.
No.
Just kind of like one of those mystery cases where,
Yeah, because, like, what can you do if you just have bones and... Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's no DNA to get off. There's nothing else.
Yeah, and if no one else has come forward and said anything...
I know.
Like...
And if nobody's... And, like, that's what's crazy is, like, if somebody... There might be somebody out there that knows something. Mm-hmm. But they might be dead.
Right.
So...
They could be dead or, like... Yeah, they could have just been another eyewitness that's got a weird story, and especially now, like, you don't know if somebody's stepping up and being honest about what they're saying,
or if they're credible,
right?
Yeah,
and then like there are all the murderers that like take credit for other people's like.
Well, and that's a whole other thing. This was in the speaking of murders, this was in the 70s. That is the hot time of like when serial killers became serial killers. So is this something that happened? And it was in California, which was like the prime hotspot,
right?
So, besides Wisconsin. Anyways, so that was the Yuba County 5.
It's fascinating.
It was a very interesting story, but very sad.
Yeah.
I know, sometimes our episodes are a little bit lighter, but I wanted to do something a little deeper.
Yeah, I liked it.
Thank you.
I just... I have so many feelings about it.
I have so many feelings about this one. This one's just very sad to me because... None of it should have happened.
No, and even from your story, I'm like, oh, I got to know these guys, and now it's just like, oh, that's so sad. And
right.
To not know, and like, I'm gonna have 47 theories, and like at the end of that, what's that gonna get me? Nothing. Right. I'm still not gonna know.
And the reason I wanted to do this case is I feel like these guys were so quickly also written off because in the 70s mental health was very different than it is today. It's still not respected.
Right.
But in the 70s, it was very disrespected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just because they had any type of mental crisis, immediately they're incapable of doing anything for themselves. And that's not real. That's not real life. And so I think that just kind of turning the narrative of, oh, they're just a bunch of helpless kids out there. No, that's not what happened. Right. They were adults that were able to figure out what was going on. Something else happened here. And so I think that that's something that's important to this as well. Yeah. Because I want to be friends with them. Yeah. I want to go to a bit. I'm not going to talk about it. Okay. Now we're going to do the...
Real quick. Changing the tone.
I know. I was like, okay.
Out of there real fast.
I got a quick left turn. Reefer review. So I smoked the Blue Runts, which was an indica hybrid. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 puffs. The Blue Runts just has a bad flavor to me. I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm just giving it that as a flavor. Normally, I wouldn't give it a ding down on flavor, but it also didn't give me that high. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 puffs. But remember, even though it's 4 out of 5 puffs, it's still only puff pass.
I wish you had like packaging that I could review, because like you did that one time with the mitten one.
Oh yeah,
and
I did.
I had judgment.
Oh yeah, I should start bringing in packaging.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I should bring in the packaging that I keep it in.
Yeah.
One of them's in a glass pickle jar. To make sure all the moisture stays in.
A pickle jar that's being repurposed, or a jar that's the shape of a pickle?
A pickle jar that is being repurposed. Okay. I will say the best one that I got was like packaging wise. Yeah. Was a pre-roll. And so those come in like a little tube, and the strain was Sharpie, and it literally was like a Sharpie marker, and you like spun off the top, and like that was I was like, that was the best. I literally bought it for that reason.
Yeah, packaging, it gets you.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 marketing.
Tasted like ass, didn't get me high at all, but like absolutely bought it. Yeah. And I would recommend it. And I would give it 5 out of 5 puffs because that was cool. Like that was fantastic. But yeah, I'll have to start getting some packaging for you. Yeah. That would be really good. Fun. Because some of the packaging is really bad. And I think that I believe that there's a law working on being passed. I have feelings about this law, but like, I get it also that they don't want fun things on the packaging.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
They did the same thing with cigarettes when I was a kid. I remember very clearly that because there was the Camel, and everybody loved the Camel, and the Camel was everywhere. And I remember the Camel was so cool because he has little sunglasses on, and I remember the law passed, and like you can have the Camel.
Yeah, because then people are gonna buy it because it looks like a Sharpie.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they're gonna buy it because it looks like a Sharpie, or it looks cool, or it's pretty, and it's. But my one thing with it is with cigarettes and weed. Okay. I'm not saying either is better than the other, and so please don't take it that way. Cigarettes you can go buy at a gas station. Weed you have to go into a store where you have to be 18 and up, 21 and up, have an ID, be ID'd twice.
Yeah. And
you're paying a lot more.
Right. You have to know you're buying weed and have to be there for that purpose, like the dedication to it. Whereas cigarettes, you're like, oh, I'm getting milk, might as well grab this while I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So like that's my one thing, because like also like weed stuff is so fun. Like it's so trippy and like 70s and retro.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to see it go away.
Yeah.
So that's like me being selfish. Yeah. But anyways. You can find us at stirthepot_pod on Instagram. What do we have a YouTube handle yet?
We'll
figure it out.
It should also be either Stir the Pot or stirthepot_pod. You should be able to find us by either of those.
I'll post it in the show notes, so go look at it.
Yeah.
And my coworker that keeps asking me about YouTube, this is for you. So if you don't listen to this, I'm going to be very angry. And I want you to text me right now that you've listened to this. But, and then we actually are, so compared to last season or before, I feel like we're a lot more organized. But we are working on a few more things, so stay with us. We're going to try and, You'll be seeing some of us. You'll be seeing more of us, hopefully.
We're gonna hopefully get Patreon going and get more active on social media and everything. So also, if you have an episode that you want us to talk about or any like topics that you're interested in, send us a message on Instagram or
Facebook.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do Facebook because I don't know how to check the messages.
Yeah. But
email
Instagram.
us. Yeah,
We're there on Instagram.
Or even comments on this episode.
Yeah.
If you have a would you rather, comments on this episode.
Yeah.
We love a good nun or pope.
Yeah. Would you rather I feel like the would you rathers that we have are fun, but some of them are so wordy and some of them are so weird. I'm up for some
and I don't know if I said this last time, and I don't know if I'm going to leave this on here, but our book of would you rathers no longer has a cover because my cat threw up on it. So classy. And remember, don't be afraid of them. Make them afraid of you.
And stay dangerous.